Hello, and welcome to Greet the Week. I am Mona Duncan, and our topic today is on it's on the paradox. Let me share the screen here. It's on the paradox of myth and reality. Uh, I think Buddha said a lot: illusion, illusion, all is illusion. And unfortunately, we can kind of sometimes be a little illusioned. So just kind of tearing them apart and looking at them and seeing how that we can live more sanely and sensibly. So a paradox is something that seemingly has contrary qualities, but at the same time, it may be that you need both of them because sometimes we need a hammer and sometimes we need the claw part to pull the nail out. So sometimes they can work together depending on how we use them. And then a myth, for years, I personally thought a myth was just like a lie. It was a non-entity. But it tells us that historically, it is events that gives us a worldview of people everywhere and how it explains practices, beliefs, and natural phenomenon that, and that some believe it and some don't believe it. And that's just pretty much like all of life, as in a worldwide flood. There are many that believe there was a worldwide flood, and it's definitely in biblical records. But there are some that say, well, it was, but that was a long time ago. But anyway, that myth is things that gives us some background, some belief systems, some practices of some phenomenal events. And then reality. Well, what is reality? Dr. William Glasser, reality therapy and choice theory, that reality is really that quality or state of being real. It's finding out whether it is true substance or an illusion. So as I was thinking about this, I thought of Aretha Franklin and her singing of respect, 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 and spelling it RESPECT. And part of the dialogue in there says, find out what it means to me. Yes, I choose to respect you, but find out what respect means to each other. So respect really means the etymology of it is a second look. Have a second look. I saw that, but if I go back and I look again, maybe I'll see something different. And because the reason is that first gaze is often unfiltered. We're not really looking for something, we're just scanning. And that I have the WIIFM. What does that mean? What's in it for me? It seems that we human beings have this WIFM within us. It's what's in it for me. And it's what will I get? And will it make me look good? And is it a money maker? But the thing of it is, respect is to be who you are and to see the other person that we are engaging with, or the other peoples, or the other phenomenon or circumstances. So, which came first, the chicken or the egg? What in grammar, the I before E except after C. Some of those things can become confusing. So which came first? Well, the chicken and the egg are interdependent. The egg-laying chicken and the developing egg each have a valuable part to play to the cook that's, preparing breakfast or casseroles. But another question is, which came first, the theory or the reality? Well, on my own self personally, the more I study and practice reality therapy, the more it becomes a reality, that it's actual fact. So theory is a not yet proven abstract construct, which kind of goes back to the myth that it is belief systems. And reality is the state of actually becoming real, of finding that it's legitimate. So kind of a truth or dare. Epigenetics is a gene cell development there was a 13-year study on the Human Genome Project that included scientists from around the world, and they were all trying to prove or disprove. But it came out, they began to discover that each individual cell in our body has a life of its own. And that life of its own inside those cells is capable of being turned on or turned off. And so in that process, Bruce Lipton, who is a scientist with the epigenetic gene cell development, he wrote a book entitled The Biology of Belief. And according to him, it says that our cells turn on and they turn off depending on what we believe. So I put that down there a second time. What? The biology of belief means that our cells, just like a flip on the light switch, can turn on or off depending on what we believe. So, should I have a donut? Yes, sure, I'd love to have a donut. So the body instantly goes to work, and you'll notice that the light switch is in the on position. The body goes to work. The brain values that delicacy that it is seeing, and the mouth salivates. It begins to prepare for that sumptuous bite. And the genes then are turned on to store the fat. So, but what if how do we turn the genes off? Well, we start by verbally. No, thank you. I'll pass on the donuts. And so then the body begins to muster strength to rewrite that previous programming. The brain values nutrition. The genes turn off so that we keep from storing fat or the excess. And thereby, what's the results? It's improved health, and our waist thanks us. So I personally, I've already said it, I think, I love it when when theory becomes fact, when it just becomes so real, so powerful, so effective, so legitimate. So consciousness, consciously or carelessly, we choose how we behave, which translate into having chosen what we do, which greatly influences how we feel physically and emotionally, which embraces or disputes what we're thinking, which genetically becomes who we are, mentally, physically, and relationally. Because this has always worked, and it always will, and now science keeps on proving it. So when I'm weak, then I'm strong. What? You know, what kind of talk is that? When we are weak, I admit that I am powerless over. Now, this is going along with the 12-step program of overcoming addictions of all kinds. Initially, it started out with just alcohol, and it has been expanded to anything that becomes habitual that we seem to be powerless over. And the very step one is, I admit that I am powerless over. Well, originally it was alcohol. But if you can't think of anything right now, you might want to put in there, I'm powerless over pride. I'm powerless over power. That we must experience powerlessness before we can experience power. It's part of the 12-step program. And that I must honestly admit that my go-to power turns out to be dark, but I want it to be light. I want it to be where I can begin to see things. So gain and pain is a universal experience of all humans. We go through good times and not so good times. And it's just part of being human. Bill Wilson of Alcoholics Anonymous called our ambivalence with, do this, do that, called it denial. That we begin to be then in a state of denial, which can we see things that are real? No, because we are denying them, saying not that big a deal. And it seems that we are not free to be honest about or even aware of wounds that we have buried or tried to overcome. And so if nothing changes, then nothing changes. So repeated behavior, whatever it is, repeated behavior becomes habit. Brushing our teeth, grooming, those are good habits. Some habits are good, some habits are not so good. But as we continually repeat the behavior, it becomes a habit. And then that habit starts taking on a life of its own. And it begins to seem like it's innate. And we begin to rationalize, well, everybody's that way, or I can't help it, or that's just the way I am. But being pleasant and being thankful when things go your way is a habit that you teach yourself. But conversely, so is being disagreeable or unappreciative when things do not go your way. It becomes a habit that you've taught yourself. So being agreeable or being disagreeable are habits that we teach ourselves, and they surface upon our command. So have you ever responded negatively and blamed the circumstances? You made me. Well, someone or something making you do something is not like an allergy. It's not like being allergic to cats. It's not like being allergic to something, to colognes or something. It's not like being allergic. When an allergy is there, then your immune system automatically responds to it. So if you're allergic to cats, you're going to be allergic to them, whether they're cute and cuddly or whether they're mangy, flea infested. You don't want anything to do with them. But in a similar situation, maybe, that you responded negatively and blamed the circumstances. In a similar situation, was it just no big deal? Well, if one day Sam made you mad, and the next day, for whatever reason, maybe you were more relaxed, you were more rested, you weren't so rushed, you weren't so stressed, you had spent time meditating, or you had done exercising, or you had done whatever it is that kind of gets you into a better frame of mindset, then obviously Sam was not the organic cause of your negative response. So in either scenario, you drew on habit responses that you taught yourself. So, awareness, making changes in life, getting real, looking at the paradox that we can be one way and then another way comes from awareness. And forming new habits involves awareness. To determine what you want to do, but you need to determine what you want to change, as well as determine what you don't want to change. Needs to be both and, because you want to determine to be funny, but to not be so sarcastic in the way of being funny. You want to determine those, and then begin to be aware and to begin to take note of those times when you are pleased with a response to something, when you are pleased with the fact that you respond calmly rather than being agitated, or to become aware of the fact that when you could speak up and rationally speak your mind while remaining calm and boldly asserting yourself. So, and then also in forming new habits, it involves doing one thing differently. And every time our behavior is modified in a different way, we are we're starting down a new path. We are making a new footprint on the brain. And treading this new path again and again and again causes our brain to become wired, to become habituated, to become to new attitudes, new actions, and new outcomes. So don't cope, overcome. Instead of just, barely coping, it's that we learn to overcome. And we do that one step at a time, one day at a time, one path at a time. And it becomes a new hardwired brain habit. Well, think you can do it? Well, I think you can. So thank you very much for being here, and stay tuned, those that are here with us live, and we will talk some. In the meantime, many blessings and good mental health.